If I'm audible to all of you, please type a yes in the chat window. Okay, some people are saying not audible. Am I audible now? Okay, okay, good evening, Bhanu. Sound, am I still not audible? I think it's all set now. It's fine now. Maruti says it's fine. Yes, 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 yes. So I can hear a few yeses now. I think I'm audible. Srilata, am I still not audible? Now audible, now audible. So I'm assuming that there was some problem which is resolved now. I'm audible. All right. So I wish, I think I'm audible to all of you. Good, great. So let's start the session. Now, as you understand, this is in continuation with the previous session on IBPS PO interview. So I hope that all of you who are here now have already gone through that session and tried to understand what it is all about. So this session has got a very specific agenda. Today I am going to help you in optimizing your answers to some personal interview questions. The questions that I discussed last time, and I told you that these are the questions that you should capitalize upon. These are the questions that should not mess. These are the questions that can get you some brownie points in an interview. So it's about these questions today. I'm going to discuss them. I asked you to fill a form last time. I got a lot of responses on that, good ones, not so good ones, okay ones. So I'll discuss all that as well, and I'll tell you how to optimize all these answers. So let's proceed. So this session is about that only. Okay, so as I mentioned last time, an interview is about how well you can drive it in your direction. So personal questions is the best way of doing it. If you can handle your personal questions well, that's the way to do it. So as I mentioned last time, let's start with the first question now. This is invariably the first question that you handle in your interview. Tell me something about yourself. So when I went through the responses that were sent by a lot of people here, I had a few observations. One, some people kept it very short. Now I do not know if that was short because you were typing and you did not feel like typing a lot, so that's why it was short, or because you did not have much to speak about yourself. Some people on the other hand had very verbose answers, very verbose. So you need to elaborate, right? But you do not need to be very verbose. So don't speak useless things. It has to be very balanced. So I don't believe in prescribing stuff, but if I have to prescribe, I would say that an introduction has to be somewhere between 30 to 60 seconds. I do not think that they would have patience to listen to you for more than 60 seconds. So it might happen that in this process you miss out on some very important points. So you let's say I've got X points to say, and they cut you short at X minus 3. So you've missed those 3 important points. So keep it very short and sweet, not a 10-15 second thing, between 30 to 60 seconds. So many of you might like to reframe it after this feedback. Another thing is that I noticed that many of you ended your introduction with very trivial stuff. For example, somebody said, my sister's name is XYZ and she does this. And now this is okay. I mean, if you want to mention about your family, you can say that. But please remember that this is about you. So they would probably not be interested in knowing your sister's name. So if you're saying that she's a banker, that's fine. If you're saying that she's a student at this particular college, that's fine. But a name, and that too towards the end of an introduction, not a very good idea. If you ask me, if I'm an interviewer and you tell me 5 things about yourself in your introduction, what is the part about which there is a good chance that I'll ask you questions? It is always the last 1 or 2 points. Now I'm not saying that they would not ask you questions about the rest of the points, but the last 2-3 points or the last point in specific would be very important. So end it on a high. Mention something very important, very catchy, very very thought provoking, about which they feel tempted to ask a question. So end it on something like this. So this is my feedback on tell me something about yourself. If there is something specific that you want to ask me about this particular question, which is like very important, you can type it now. If you have got something to ask about this question, please do type it now. I'll address it and then move forward. Please type it in the chat window. Okay, some people are again saying no audio. I think I would be audible. Is there a problem with the audio? Aarti says, sir, what we should write about ourselves mean related to only study, hobby, etc. Aarti, you can mention anything as long as you think it has got some juice to talk about. So that's the basic criteria it should fulfill. It should be something about which you can talk, because there's a good chance they'll ask you questions. So no harm mentioning your family, but do not go to the limits of saying my brother's name is this and he does this, my sister's name is this and he does this. How are the names important to these guys unless the name in itself is very special? So just keep that in mind. Okay. We need to tell about our place, qualifications, and what else. You can talk about your place, qualifications, strengths, your ambition, why do you want to get into banking and stuff like that. It can be anything. I mean, these are 6, 7, 8 things. You can pick any of them. Somebody says, sir, बाबूजी रिक्शा चलाते हैं, ये बोलना चाहिए क्या? एकदम बोल सकते हैं. If your father does something like that, you can always say that. In fact, that kind of shows how hard you have worked to reach this position, how hard your parents have worked to make you appear for this interview. So if there is something like that, there is no harm in that, there is no shame in that. Say that with pride. You can do that. Maruti says, can we include achievements? Yes, you can include achievements if you want to talk about that. If we don't have a very specific, Shardul, I'll come to hobbies later. Ashok says that give me a demo. Ashok, I told you it's about some 4 or 5 good things about yourself, nothing very specific. I would not want to be prescriptive here. Talk about what you want to do in life, talk about how banking interests you, talk about your strengths, talk about your family, your native place, your education background. These are the basic things. You can omit 1 or 2 of these, you can add 1 or 2 to them. Okay, anything else? Brajesh, the sequence is fine. You're saying where I come from, qualification, strong point, family members and hobby. This looks good, no problem with that. So I'll move forward. I think most of you are okay with this. Just remember this point and end it on a high. So you might have 5 good points in an introduction and you end it with a not so good point. It doesn't do well for you. Fine. So end it on a high and end your introduction on a high. Prepare it like that. So I'll move forward now. Okay, so this was the second question, or in fact it's a group of questions which talked about things like meaning of your name, significance of your date of birth, your native place, family background, father's occupation, etc. So as I was going through the responses, most of you were okay there. I mean, what problem can you have with the meaning of your name and all? So no problems as such. Date of birth, I had an observation that most of you mentioned my birthday falls on the same day as that of Salman Khan or as of Sachin Tendulkar. All that is fine. I mean, but you should go beyond that. So search for that particular date in history. You might get another few examples. So maybe you would want to mention 3 there. So just don't stop at finding the shared birthday with a celebrity and not go forward. It might be some other historical event that happened there which you do not know. So search for it, do a detailed one. As far as your native place is concerned, if there is something very specific about it, good. If not so specific about it and they insist what is so special about it, they can probably talk about, if you're not your town or village, then your district or your state or something like that. So if somebody is from a place in Rajasthan about which there is nothing special, you think at least that there is nothing special, then you can probably talk a bit about Rajasthan as well. It'll do, not a problem. Family background and father's occupation, if you can relate them somehow to what you aspire to do in your life, specifically banking in this case, very good. If you cannot do that, it's still okay. As somebody just mentioned, my father is a rickshaw puller, and I'll say it's an achievement you're here. In fact, I'll be inclined to take you in. I got a few responses where people said, my father is a farmer. I mean, we are a family of farmers. Now, how big an achievement is that? You are from a background in which probably nobody has worked in a government job earlier and you are still here. So it shows something about that. So you can mention it. So it should be on 2 lines. One is that you can either relate it to what you want to do. 2 is on those lines that nobody or nothing what my what my predecessors have done is related to what I want to do, and still I'm doing it. So that's another way of proving that you are actually interested in this. So this is it. Anything specific you want to talk about when it comes to this question, please type. Otherwise, I'm moving forward. Okay, what is your contribution I'm coming to banking industry. You're talking about my hobbies, playing basketball and listening to. I'm coming to hobbies. I'm coming to banking industry. First of all, any question about the previous one, please type it now. Otherwise, I'm moving forward. So the next question is, what all have you prepared for the interview? Now, I gave you tips on this question last time as well. I got a few very good answers and a few not so good answers. For example, in not so good answers, I'll give you a few examples. Somebody said, I was giving mock interviews with a coaching institute. Why would you want to mention that? It's okay, you did that, they know that, it's obvious, they helped you improve, don't mention it. I mentioned last time as well that it's about what you have prepared, is about what you want to be grilled about, right? It's not about what's the process like, how much fee you paid to the institute, or who interviewed you in the mocks, and nothing like that. It's just about what exactly do you want us to question you on. So mention stuff about which you would want to answer questions. So it can be banking, or it can be a current affairs topic, it can be demonetization, it can be anything else. So you can say I studied a few basic important hot issues on current affairs like demonetization and all, and this is what I did. So talk on those lines. Another bad answer to this question was, sir, I did not prepare much. Now, why would you say that? Why would you say to a question like this, I did not prepare much? What do you want to tell them? Do you want to tell them that you're not interested in this job? Or you are taking it lightly, or it does not matter to you? Only then would you say something like, I did not prepare much, or I did not prepare at all. That's a fairly poor answer. Prepare it well. It's a simple question. I told you last time as well. Mention anything. Just don't mention I did not prepare, or just don't mention that coaching institute's angle. Not that it's a problem, but don't mention it. Mention stuff that you would want them to ask you questions on. Very simple. Anything else, please type in the chat window. Pranav says, my birthday is on 14th of November, so should I be expecting questions on Jawaharlal Nehru? Yes, you can. You are one of the few lucky ones who has got a famous birthday. So yes, you can be asked questions on Jawaharlal Nehru and Children's Day and all, and Jawaharlal Nehru's connection with children, and why is it called Children's Day, and so many questions come to your mind straight away. Rahul says, my father is a retired policeman. Yes, mention that. What's the problem? Okay. If someone's father is a civil servant, should it be mentioned or not? Sandeep, there is no problem doing that. You can. I mean, I don't see a reason why I should not mention that. If your father is a civil servant, he's proud of that, you are proud of that, please mention that. Anu says, did they ask you about our attempts? I did not get the question about your number of attempts at bank PO or number of attempts in the examination. If you're asking about number of attempt at bank PO, you can mention that. Don't lie. Look, you don't have to lie or conceal information as far as possible. I mean, don't do that. There is no reason for you to lie to a panel unless it's something, I cannot even think of a thing that you cannot mention. So I'm sure they would not ask you a question which you cannot answer in a straightforward way, honestly. So don't generally conceal facts. What will be the meaning of my name? Gaurav, how do I tell that? You would know that better than me. So I share my birthday with Deepika Padukone. Will they ask? Golu, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if they would know the birthday of Deepika Padukone. So you'll have to mention that if you want to mention at all. Why don't you join private bank, Deepika? I'll come to that. My husband is a teacher. Shall I mention, sir? You can mention that. I'm not prescribing anything. You can mention anything, right? So I'm moving forward to the next question now. Why are you interested in getting into a bank? Now it's a very important question. I told you last time as well, it's a very important question. It's to be prepared very well. Things not to be done here. Don't mention it pays me well, it pays me better than my current job, I'm doing it for money and all. It's implicit, it's understood, they know it, don't mention it. Fine, talk about growth, talk about career, talk about some report which mentions how the banking career is going to be huge in India in the coming years. For example, I recently read a report of BCG which mentioned that it's going to be the third largest banking system in the world by 2026. Quote things like that. If you read, you'll get a lot of stuff. It'll be around a 400 billion US dollar mark or something like that, with a compounded annual growth rate of around 15% over the next 10 years. Now, these are the things that you need to talk about. Show them that you are interested in it. How would you show it to them? By quoting some numbers, mention it. Tell them stuff like banking in India is going through a very very exciting phase. It's a transformation phase, so it's going to be very exciting. All the things are going digital. The transactions are going to be digital in the near future. So I want to be a part of all this. Mention stuff like that. Tell them why you're interested. What do you think banking has in store for you? Why do you think banking is going to give a boost to your career? And tell them how you're interested in banking, and this is where it stops, nothing else. Anything else you want to ask on this, please type in the chat window. Moving to the next question then, if you have something to ask, please type. I wrongly mentioned my marks by 1%. Will it be a problem in an interview? If you mention it on the higher side, maybe. On the lower side, again maybe. I don't think so. So it should not be a problem, but why would you want to do that? So just be very careful with these things in future. Okay, I'll be the first one who got permanent job under government from a village. Should I mention in introduction? You can mention that. It's quite an achievement. They actually value people who mention such things. So if you've got something like that, please mention that. Okay, another very important question. Last time I remember many people were stuck on this question. Still, I did not get very good answers on this, except for a couple of very good answers. How is the education background going to help you in a bank? Now, if you're let's say a commerce graduate, I don't think you'll have too many problems justifying something like this. You can talk about your accountancy and all, so that's not going to be an issue. If I remember it right, most of the engineers did have a problem with this question. How do I justify my engineering and then getting into a bank? How does it all connect? Look, it's simple. They just want to check how you respond to a question like this. So even if you mention something like, sir, my engineering or my stream of study may not be directly related to banking, but I have learned this in my engineering, which makes me a better person, which makes me the person I am today, it's going to do the job. But you should at least tell them what you learned in your engineering. For example, you can mention things like, I'm talking engineering because if I remember it right, most of the people who are engineers had a problem with this question, or even science graduates and all. So you can mention stuff like, sir, engineering teaches optimization, engineering teaches resource utilization. So these are things that have added a lot to my personality. Now I try and apply all these things in every sphere of life. So banking would not be an exception. My career would not be an exception to it. Engineering taught me numbers. I am very good at numbers, and it's all because of engineering. I think all these are important things for a banker. Things like that. Think about it, you'll get lots of ideas. So just think about it. Tell them how your education was good, how you learned a lot of stuff there, and then somehow connect it to banking. This is it. In fact, I remember a good answer here from somebody who was a chemistry graduate. Again, on very similar lines. Chemistry might not have anything to do directly with banking, but it taught me the importance of patience. We used to do all those experiments, and we had to be very patient about it. We had to be very precise about it. We had to be very accurate when doing all those experiments. A second here and there and you're gone. So all these things again add a lot to me. I think I can apply all those things in my real life as well, and my career is not an exception there. So talk about things which your education added to you, and then relate to banking if you can do that. Everybody can do that. Just think about it a little harder. If you've got anything else to ask, please type here. Okay, I studies basics of economy. Should I mention? Yes, you can mention that. Be prepared for questions then. How can a pharma graduate answer it well? Bhanu, I just mentioned, talk about things which you think your education added to you, and this is it. Talk about how you are a better person after those 3 or 4 years of your graduation. This would be it. Nothing else is required. So don't try and connect everything with banking. directly with banking. So don't try and connect all your subjects with banking. This would never happen. Never happen with with a student of any kind of stream. So try and talk about things which your education added to you, and this can be done by anybody, I'm sure. So it should not be a problem. I am from physics background. What will the answer? Gaurav, again the same answer. Tell them about why you liked physics, how you liked physics, why did you select physics and all, and how has physics been a part of your growing up, and that should be it. Okay, I graduated in EE, which is going to benefit for rural agricultural, about motors and generators. Yes, Soji, you can say that. So not a problem. You can talk about rural agriculture and all. If you're applying to an RRB and stuff like that, it will be an added advantage. Even if to a nationalized bank, no problem. You can mention that. So should we greet all the panelists one by one or all at once? Now this is a good question. In fact, if it's a large panel of 5 people, greeting all of them at once can also be a way to do it. If you can pull it off, I mean, greeting all of them one by one, and it's also okay. You can probably choose to greet the female interviewer first, you know, a bit more courtesy to her. Otherwise, it does not make a difference. You can do it in whatever way you like. It just should look good. I mean, it should be appropriate. It should be according to the situation. This is it. No hard and fast rules for that. Can I speak in local language? I mentioned it last time as well. Language would not be a problem. So I'm moving forward to the next question now. I hope you understood about this education background thing. This should not be a problem to anybody if you have done well in your graduation. Okay, reason for gap year in studies. This is something on which I would want to give you feedback. I noticed a lot of people, in fact, we get queries, we got a lot of queries through that form, we got a lot of queries on the YouTube channel and all. A lot of people actually, for some strange reason, did not mention their post-graduation in the forms, and I could not understand that. I mean, if you did it by mistake, I mean, it's a bad mistake to do. Why would you want to do that? I mean, I don't know who advised you on this. Don't conceal any facts here. What would you get by not telling them that you're doing your post-graduation? I mean, I cannot think of anything. So anyway, if you have not done it, do it now. If they ask you about your studies and all, mention it. So don't, in order to defend it, don't lie at this stage. I mean, you might get caught later on. So you might just say, I forgot, it's a mistake or something like that. But don't do that. Discrepancy in marks. I got 66%, I mentioned 65 or 67. Why would you do that? I mean, if you have done it, tell them honestly, sir, it was a mistake. I mentioned it by mistake. It was a calculation error on my part or something like that. Don't hide anything here. You might have got feedback from people saying that a post-graduation in this particular stream would not go down well with all these interviewers. I mean, I don't understand that. Just be honest. Don't lie or don't conceal any facts as long as it's possible. It's a rule of thumb, and don't forget it. Anything else you want to ask, please mention it here. Gaurav says that, sir, from last 7 years I'm working as a lecturer and from engineering background. Why am I switching to banking? Answer. Gaurav, you know your answer. If you're switching to banking, you're switching for something. When you're teaching for 7 years, if you're switching to banking, there must be some reason behind it. Mention it. What is the problem? Even if you tell them, sir, I don't think that this job is as rewarding or going to be as rewarding as a career in banking can be, and then mention those 2 lines, those 2 crucial lines about how good or how exciting banking in India would be in the next 10 years, this would do the job. So this is not very difficult to handle. You're doing teaching, you want to shift to banking, what is the problem? If they had a problem with such people, they would have mentioned in the eligibility that somebody who's been working for 5 or more years in a non-banking field is not eligible. Have done that? No, you are eligible, you're good to go. Don't refrain from mentioning any such thing. I mean, thinking that this would not go down well with them. Nothing like this is going to happen. Please mention it. No problem. How do I justify I'm 2009 pass out and from the last 7 years working as a lecturer? Gaurav, why do you need to justify it? You did it because you like doing it. Even if you want to mention something like I joined lecturership because I could not land a good job in the field I wanted to, that's fine with you. You worked there for 7 years, be proud of that. Now you want to shift careers, that's okay. So that's not a problem. How else would you defend your 7 years of life? You haven't done anything else, right? If you don't mention this lectureship of 7 years, what else would you do? Do you have a choice? No. So just think about what lectureship has added to you as a person, all the good things that it has added to you, what you have gained, how you are a different person from what you were in 2009, how you are a better person from what you were in 2009, and this would be it. You don't need to do anything else. So no problem mentioning lectureship as well. Okay. Okay, somebody says कि पिताजी काफ़ी कम कमाते हैं, so financial problems at home, and that's why I could not take admission somewhere. Financial problems, not a problem. If you're mentioning financial problems here and you are here, it tells a lot about you. Fine. I mean, how you have faced the hardships in your life and how hard you have worked to reach at this stage. So if you are mentioning that I belong to a poor family, that's a positive. I'm not telling you to mention it even if you do not have a problem. Don't do it. That's not required. But if you actually belong to a lower middle class or a lower class family, that's okay. Not a problem. In fact, you might get a few extra marks. Again, cautioning you, anybody who's from a well-off background doesn't need to mention that I belong to a poor background to get a few extra points. That's not required. Not really. Okay, again somebody worked as a lecturer and left the job in 8 months, now unemployed, preparing for banking. What to tell them? Rahul, you tell them what you are telling me, nothing else. Just construct your story well, just articulate it well. Fine. So you're telling them the same things that you're telling me. It's just that they are raw at this stage, and when you go in front of the panel, you refine them slightly. Fine. So all those words like career objective, doing well in life, and how is banking exciting and all come into play when you are telling the same answer to them. Otherwise, everything else remains the same. You don't lie. You state the exact facts. I mean, nothing else. I was pursuing professional course C and dropped it after couldn't clear number of attempts. Ketan, you can mention that. How many people in India clear a CA every year? Check the numbers. When not everybody becomes a CA. You could not become a CA. What is the problem? No problems with that. You can say that was my goal for the first few years after my graduation or something like that. I realized I could not make it. I did this. I learned this through it, and now I want to pursue a career in banking because banking is so important. Then about banking. This is it. Okay, as bank exams is going tougher and tougher, more people are choosing the career. I am improving myself to crack exam. Apart from banking exam, I am also rolling MOOC. All this is fine. 2015 pass out को last year बोल सकते हैं. I don't think so. Last year now would be 2016, but it doesn't make a difference even if you say that. I have Kapil says I have a 4-year gap. What to say? I am preparing for banking. Kapil, you must have done something those 4 years. Mention that. So whatever you have done, polish it up slightly. What you have learned, the theme should always be about learning, and then mention it. Why don't you study higher, Deepak? I mean, why don't you study higher? Because I want to get into a bank, because banking excites me. I don't think I need to study higher, because the eligibility for getting into a bank is a graduation. I'm a graduate. I don't need to study higher. I mean, why would you ask you a question like that? They might have asked you a question like, why did you not pursue a career in banking right after your graduation and instead went for a post graduation, not the other way around? Why would they ask you why did you not study higher? I don't think that's going to be asked. Okay. Anything else? I see a pattern in the questions now. Banking is a backup to you. Okay, again, from the back, I remember a couple of other answers as well. People were asking questions like, I prepared for civil services first, I could not get through, now I'm preparing for banking. Is that a bad answer? No, that's not a bad answer. Again, how many people get through the civil services exam every year in India? It's a very, very small percentage. So if you're telling them that you did this, you could not succeed, and this is your backup, in a way it's your fallback option, this is a backup, that's not a bad thing to say. Just don't use these words like backup or fallback option and stuff like that. You should say, I tried for it, I could not make it, unfortunately I reached this stage, but I'm proud of what I did. I learned a lot of things, this is what it added to me, and now this is my career choice, banking. This is it. Just frame it well. No problem with mentioning that you tried your hand at something else before choosing to get into a bank. No problems with that. Okay, I resigned as a clerk from Syndicate Bank. Will it create a bad impression? No, I don't think so. I don't think it'll create a bad impression. Just tell them the reason why you resigned from there. सर इस बार जॉब का नहीं हुआ तो सुसाइड करना होगा. Why are you thinking about these things at this stage? And नहीं करना होगा. There are so many other things to do in life. Don't mention anything like that in the interview. This negativity should not be visible to the panel. This is bad. Don't mention any such thing. If at all this does to you is to motivate you to work harder. This desperate situation, nothing else. Don't think about any such thing. You'll make it if you work hard. Don't mention any such thing. Okay. Vivek says I'm 2012 engineering pass out, but I didn't went for a job because of some unknown reason I'm looking for after a plantation. And Vivek, this is fine. You were doing something in those 4 years, right? You're not sitting idle at home or watching cricket all the time. So if this is the case, that's fine. You're looking after your family business, that's okay, no problem. You still qualify all the criteria that's given in their eligibility conditions, right? So it's not an issue. Just mention it there like that, no problem. Vivek will not create a negative impression. You're fine with that. Just frame the answer well. Okay. Sandeep says I had attempted 40 out of 40 questions. Reasoning still selected. I did not get your question, Sandeep. Okay. So I'm moving forward now. So that's the next question. Why didn't you take a job right after your college? I don't think it's very difficult to manage for most people. I in fact liked a couple of answers here. I'll mention one of them. Somebody mentioned that he could find a job after the campus but did not went for the job because they had a bond of 3 years or something like that. So I mean, a valid answer. No problems with mentioning something like that. You can also mention that I wasn't interested in the field. The only thing that should be very careful about with a question like this is that it should not appear as if all your batchmates got a job and you could not. 1. 2, your campus did not attract too many companies, or it had no placement, or so if it's the truth, then you cannot do anything about it. But the whole idea is that you do have options all the time. I mean, if you come across as somebody who does not have any option, so that's not a big positive. So that's the only thing that I mention here. So frame this answer in a way in which it tells you that you did have an option, but you chose to pursue this because of this reason, something on those lines, right? Anything else you want to write here? Okay, I'll move forward. Why do you want to leave your current job? Again, I got a lot of responses on this question. People mentioned low salary, low job satisfaction and stuff like that. You can mention that, but as I mentioned last time as well, talk more about banking as a career and less about what's wrong with your current job. This is it. That should be the theme. So you can mention, sir, I don't draw a very handsome salary here. This looks very attractive, but then it shows that you are working just for money, right? So talk about career, talk about banking as a career, and why not much about the bad things in your current job. So don't malign it. So this is it, nothing else apart from it. Banking as a career has to be the reason why you want to switch your job. Nothing else is to be mentioned. Okay, I'll take a question. It says, I have completed BTech in EC, and if I tell them the core subsidy jobs are available and you have to be higher studies. Dipayan, it's fine. If you're mentioning that, I mean, no good jobs available that interest you, and that's why you want to get into banking, that's fine. I mean, but you should be able to defend it well. I mean, you should be able to give examples. It should not look like a case of sour grapes. You could not find a job, and that's why you're saying not many jobs available in the sector, or something like that. So give them examples. You have to prove it to them that it's exactly the way you are mentioning, and that you are not lying for the sake of this interview, right? So if you can do that, it'll be fine. Okay. Okay, so we'll come to the next one. What are your hobbies and why do you pursue them? Many people could mention a variety of things on this hobbies thing, so most of them are fine. But I still have an observation here. I realized that a lot of people actually wanted to avoid or evade questions here by mentioning something about which they don't think there'll be any questions. Now that's a feeling that I got with a few hobbies. So I might be wrong, but if that's the idea, it's a bad idea. Don't create a hobby out of nothing because you think they would not have anything to ask you about. If they do not have anything to ask you about your hobby, they'll ask you something about the US economy, right? Or something else which they are fond of. Do you want that to happen? No. So hobbies is something which should prepare and you should mention. So mention something which attracts questions, which induces questions. I mentioned this last time as well. I'm reiterating, it's very, very important. This is a question which is asked very often. So if this is asked, just make sure that you capitalize on it. Mention something which is very catchy, which is, don't create a new hobby, but if everybody has got a few hobbies. So if there are 4 or 5 things, think about 1 or 2, probably 2, about which you can talk a lot and about which you have done a lot of research. So this is it for this question. Don't try and evade this question by mentioning, something about which you think they would not ask you questions. So even if you say, for example, that interacting with people is my hobby, I'm okay with that, but I would advise think of something better. If it's a genuine hobby, then it's fine. If you're making it up because you think there are not too many questions to be asked on this, think again. It deserves a thought, a serious thought. Okay, can I mention paper craft as a hobby? Dinesh, you can do that. I'm not sure how much time it takes, but you might be expected to do something for them there. So if you're confident, please do that. Okay, playing table tennis, that's fine. Traveling, okay. Anything can be a hobby. Again, I'm mentioning, I'll not be prescriptive here that these are the list of 15 hobbies for you. Pick any 2 out of them. No, it's an endless list. Just think about it. Think about it. Is it a genuine hobby? Is it something about which you're passionate? Is it something on which you spend a lot of time? Is it something on which you'll be comfortable talking, most importantly? So if it's something on which you don't think you know anything, you just indulge in it, don't mention it. For example, you say I play football. So don't expect them to take your word on that. They'll ask you questions. So if you do not know what hand of God is, do not mention football. Don't say I just follow club football. I do not know what happened in the World Cups prior to my birth, and don't mention that, right? So if it's a hobby, please be prepared to answer questions, and even insanely stupid and tough questions. They might check you on that. So be prepared. Okay, can I mention yoga, meditation, writing, poetry? Yes, yoga, meditation, writing, poetry, everything is fine. If you are mentioning writing poetry, be prepared with a couple of your compilations that might get you a few extra marks. No problem, it's a good hobby. Okay. I'm good at doing makeup for brides. Can I mention it as a hobby? That sounds more like a profession. If you want to mention it as a hobby, you can do it. I do not know what they are going to ask you on this. Maybe some current trends or something. You can do that, no problem. Okay, traveling, music, interacting with people, movies, all this looks fine. I'm good at computers. Can I mention it? Dinesh, be prepared for questions if you mention you are good at computers. So I don't know, be a little more specific. Some people like tweaking with the computer, with their windows and all. If you are good at that, mention it very specifically. Be prepared to do a couple of tweaks for them, or mention it at least how you're going to achieve this or achieve that. Be very specific. So for example, if you're, let's say, mentioning football, so you can probably go to the extent of saying I like following there is no Indian cricket team, there is no good Indian football team, sorry. You might say I like following the European League or something like that. So don't be very vague about it. So you don't love cricket, you probably love playing cricket or following the Indian cricket team or something like that. Be a little more specific, they'll be safe for you. Even if you mention that, they may always ask you questions on the other subject, but you still get a little safe if you mention something like this. So just be a little more specific when it comes to hobbies. Watching cricket is a hobby, be prepared to answer questions. Sketching, doodling, everything is fine, all this is fine, no problem. Okay. I like to swim as well, that's okay. I have worked in IT sector for 1.5 years but do not have experience certificate. Should I mention this? Ashi, please try and get the experience certificate if you can. If you don't have it, you can still mention it. Tell them reason why you don't have it. Okay. Did they know my caste category in interview? Would they know? They may know. I'm not sure, but there's a good chance they would know that. Okay. Somebody says that he's a metallurgy engineering graduate and not interested to work in this field. Is bank okay for you? Yes, bank is okay for you, no problem. Just tell them about what's your interest in bank is and how is banking going to grow, and a lot of stuff about how is banking good as a career. This is it. Okay, I'll move forward then. My hobby is to play chess, but I can't play it at state level, so I mention it not. Prajesh, you can mention that, but if you do not have any certificates to boast your prowess in chess, at least be prepared to answer a few questions on whatnot, maybe the technicalities of the game, or the grandmasters, or the Indian grandmasters, and who qualifies to be a grandmaster and stuff like that. So I'm sure anybody with no interest in the game would not know all these answers, so you need to prepare all this. Okay, pencil sketching is a hobby. Do I need to explain or prepare anything for this? Pencil sketching, you can mention that, and nothing to prepare, but just think about it. Are you prepared to make a rough quick sketch in 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes? They might want you to prepare something for them, make something for them. So there are examples where interviewers have done that. Otherwise, no problem, you can mention that. I'll move forward then. What are your strengths? How do they help you? Again, an important question. Most of you could handle it well. I had a problem with a few answers in which when asked to elucidate with an example or something like that, people could not justify it well. For example, if you say, I am very helpful, that's your strength. Okay, that's your strength. Give me an example. My friend was in need of money, I gave him 500 rupees and that's why I'm very helpful. I mean, it's an okay answer, but think of something better. Think of a situation, think of a story, think where you can create a story. So, working hard is my strength. I worked hard when my house was constructed. Okay, it's okay. Think of something better if you can think about it. Do not construct a strength, but still think about it. For example, if you mention something like, sir, I can think on my feet. If you can think on your feet, आप किसी भी situation को face कर सकते हैं एकदम से. So if you can do that like that, and then give an example of how there was a problem in a particular situation, and then you can resolve it, by thinking on your feet, and you could find an innovative solution to the problem. It would be a good way of defending how this is going to be your strengths. So there are things which can be defended. So try and understand what I'm trying to communicate here. Mention something about which there is a situation, I don't give up, and then mention a situation which happened. So if you mention I'm helpful, I lended a friend 100 rupees, 500 rupees, 5000 rupees, not a very good answer. Think of a situation in which it helped, and this is something about which only you can answer, nobody else. I cannot do it, probably your family can help you with that, but think of a situation and how this particular strength helped you in that situation. So probably you can do the other way around. Think of an adverse situation first in the recent past, 1 year, 2 years, and how you dealt with it. Then you can probably arrive at your strength. So it'll be the other way around. Not think of a strength first. Okay, this is a wonderful strength, so I should have this. So this is the second most wonderful strength, so I'll have this one as well. These are my 2 strengths. Now let me think of a situation where I used my strengths like this. Think of an adverse situation, how you came out of it, and there you derive your strength. So that can be another way of thinking about this question. Okay, I'll just go through the comments quickly. Enjoying, so you're still stuck on hobbies. Can I mention enjoying reading short stories available online? Yes, you can do that. No problem. That's a good enough hobby. I did not mention experience in application. Can I, Gayatri, if you did not mention experience in your application, you can still mention it. No problem. But be prepared to answer why did you not mention it in first place. They've got every right to ask you a question like this. आपने इसको पहले mention क्यों नहीं करा? So just prepare an answer for that. You can mention it, no problem. You lied, in a way you concealed information. Don't do that at this stage if asked about it. That's my advice. Watching Ramayana videos, helping others, Sandeep, okay, no problem, this is fine. My strengths are honesty and integrity. I learn from my hardworking, okay, where I work round the clock, I stay calm. All right, this sounds good, this is good. What is your contribution to Deepak, I think you want to ask what would be your contribution to banking industry. I already mentioned a lot of things about it, how you're interested in it, how you can bring your education into it, how you are going to use the analytical skills, your skills with numbers and all to it, and talk about all such things. Okay, so I'll move forward, and that's the next one. Probably a tougher one than strengths. This is about weaknesses. What are your weaknesses and what are you doing about them? A lot of you wrote good answers about this. I'm fine with them. What I have a problem with is answers like, sir, I'm underconfident. Sir, I cannot speak in a group. I have a very weak voice. Do not mention any such things. I am very bad in English. I cannot speak English. And they can already see how good or bad your communication skills are. Don't mention any such thing. Talk about something about which you're telling them that I'm actually working upon it. So don't desell yourself straight away, saying that मेरा ये तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा ख़राब है. You can mention about something. For example, I remember a good answer here wherein somebody mentioned that he empathizes with people. The plight of people actually arises pity in the person. I mean, so the example was of a lady who was begging on some street or some rail station, and he gave some money, and then he felt cheated because he again found the same lady the other day with that same excuse coming and asking for money. So he felt gullible because he helped people, he used to help people, so at times you're cheated. So this can be a weakness, but again it shows something good about your personality as well. You're always ready to give a helping hand to people, so that's the good thing about it. So think a little more deeply and not mention very trivial stuff the first thing that comes to your mind. Give it 2-3 hours. Think about it deeply. Think about a serious gap in your personality where you think you're trying to fill it up and it's still there and something like that. So don't just mention the first thing that comes to your mind here. Something trivial like I'm underconfident or something like that. I mean, that'll not do very good for your chances. So don't mention something very stupid like this. Okay, let's move forward. Anything else you have to say? Siddesh says I'm very emotional. That's fine. You can mention something like that, but they might ask you, how is being emotional a weakness, and how are you working upon it? So if you justify it well, it's good. Okay, I don't like procrastination. So that's Amrita. That's a strength. Then if you do not procrastinate, how is that a weakness? Can hating I do not get this word, irregularity, be a weakness? I don't know what this word is. Okay, is it necessary to take a resume with me for interview? No harm carrying one. Take it along. I don't think they've asked for it, but you can still take it along with you. In the file, there can be a resume. Writing stories, my hobby. You're stuck with hobbies. So I mean, I would not prescribe any hobby for you, mind it. So and writing stories can be a hobby. I haven't published any stories, not required. Probably you can carry a file in which there are some 5, 7, 10, 15 handwritten stories by you, handwritten stories by you. That should do. If they ask to produce a copy of something, you can tell them that I have written this. They should be. Deepak Singh say I'm alcoholic. Deepak, you can be alcoholic without creating problems to others. So if you are that kind of alcoholic, I don't think they'll have problem. If you are one who creates ruckus on the road, I'm sure no, you're not going to get in. So beware. I mean, answer it very, very carefully, properly, if you are serious about mentioning this boozing thing. All right, anything else you have to mention here? Sometimes I try to do many things at a time. Nilesh, this might be a weakness at times, but it also tells them you have a lot of energy. So, I mean, not a bad thing to mention. Just try and be ready to explain. Just be ready to explain how you manage this personality trait of yours of trying to do a lot of things at once. So if you can explain it, no problem, this is good. Okay, I have stammering problem. So they don't mention it, because even if you have a stammering problem, I think during the course of an interview they would be able to see it themselves. So I don't think you need to mention something like that. You might sound a little apprehensive about it in the end, but I mean, don't mention it as a weakness or something. They would be able to. And as far as the stammering problem is concerned, speak in a language in which you are comfortable. So at times it happens to people when they try speaking in a language in which they are not comfortable and cannot articulate. So that should not be a problem with you. Speak in a language in which you are comfortable. Okay, can I say my hobby is watching movies and documentary? Yes, you can say that, no problem. Be prepared to answer questions. Overthinking and procrastination, how do I overcome it? Ketan, that only you can answer. How do you overcome it? But overthinking and procrastination and perfectionism are two or three of the most overused weaknesses. So just be prepared to answer questions, because people mention it a lot. I think a lot, that's why I delay. No, you don't think a lot and that's why you delay. You delay because you do not want to do it. That's our take, right? Can you please provide a proper resume template for a fresher? Dinesh, you will find lots of templates on the internet. I don't think there's a proper or an improper one. Just find a good looking one, a contemporary one that should do the job for you. Okay, so that's the next question. Your happiest and saddest moments in life. Not a very difficult question to answer. Again, an observation from all the answers that I've seen here. So when asked a question like this, for example, happiest moment, mention an achievement. Always mention an achievement. Fine. So if you mention even some, again, I would not want to be prescriptive. If you mention something like, I was happiest the day my brother was born, I don't have a problem. You have every reason on the planet to be very happy. That's not your achievement, right? That's your parents' achievement. So mention something which you think is actually an achievement. Interview is a sales process. You're selling yourself. So mention stuff through which you get some extra points. So for example, saddest moments in life, what would you talk about? Talked about a missed opportunity, talked about something about which you tried hard, could not achieve it. So the saddest day of my life was when I missed this particular XYZ scholarships by 1 point when I was in my 11th standard, when I was in graduation, something like that. So that's the saddest moment of your life, not when when a close relative passed away. That can also be a saddest moment. That might be a saddest moment, but I don't think they'll have much to talk about it. So mention stuff about which you can talk, and mention stuff through which you can sell yourself. So think about that when you prepare your answer for this. Otherwise, nothing much to mention here. This is a question for which you would not have a correct or an incorrect answer, so no problems over there. Just think in that sense that you asked happiest or the saddest. Mention about something on which you worked hard yourself, not something over which you did not have a control. A close friend passed away, you did not have a control over that. Mention it. I mean, if you want to do it, I would not advise that. I would advise an opportunity kind of a thing. You missed it, that's why you were sad. You tried hard for it. I missed getting into the university cricket team in my first year in graduation. So that can be a saddest moment. I hope you got the point. Amrita says, can I say my saddest moment is when I missed PO by 5, PO 5 by 1 mark? Yes, something like that. So you're telling them ki you tried hard last year as well, you missed it. Okay. Happiest when I recovered from typhoid. Deepak, I'm not happy with your happiest moment. So think of something better than that. Recovery from typhoid, I understand it's a bad illness, so you're happy. Think of something better than that. Okay, I'm from fashion field. How should I answer? Why banking? I already answered that. Gul, watch the video again, watch the recording again. If you missed that part, talk about banking here. Saddest when I lost ODR PSU job just by a very little margin. Sneha, yes, these are the things I'm talking about. If you're talking about a missed opportunity, talking about a job that you missed by just 2 points, then you're telling them that I'm doing other things in life as well which are also worth doing or which are good, and this is not the only thing in this world that I'm aspiring for. So if you're talking about a PSU job that you missed by a few marks, then that's okay. So that's one point where you can incorporate something like that during the course of your 10 or 15 minute interaction. That's why I'm mentioning, think of something where you can mention some achievement, some effort that you put into something, and don't waste this by answering it in a very casual manner. Okay. Happiest, my daughter was born. So this is fine. I think already answered it. If you want to mention it, that's your happiest, and you're not very keen to change it, you can say that. Saddest moment when I failed MSc Maths by one subject. Again, I don't know if I am not able to communicate it well. The saddest moment can be I flunked in my graduation. That can be a saddest moment. That is one way of putting your saddest moment. Another way is my saddest moment was when I just missed topping my class by 1 mark. I mean, just think about it. Which is a better saddest moment if there is something like that? I mean, why would you mention stuff that that does not help you sell yourself? Mention stuff. Look at an opportunity in everything. I mean, even if they are asking for saddest moment, think of something about which can, I'm not saying brag about yourself, but about which you can mention or highlight some positive aspect of your personality, and not the other way around. When do not mention anything. I flunked, I failed. Why would you do that? Okay, I think you got the point now. Say, if I say I missed SBI clerk by 0.5, should I say that? You can say that, no problem, Polly. You can say that. Okay. So again, an important question: what is ambition in life? Where do you see yourself a few years down the line? A lot of you gave good answers to that. I'll have a small advice for you here. Whatever you mention, just try and include this organization that you are aspiring to get into it in your scheme of things. So if you mention it in a way in which it does not figure anywhere, then it kind of gives them the message that it does not figure in your future plans, right? So if you are preparing this answer, for example, if your first preference is, let's say, Bank of Baroda, so Bank of Baroda should feature, or if not Bank of Baroda, at least a bank should feature in your scheme of things, in your long-term scheme of things. So this is something they should be careful of while framing an answer like this. Another feedback on this is avoid vague answers. What is ambition in life? Sir, I want to be very successful after 15 years. Who does not want to be successful? I mean, have you ever met a person who says, sir, I would be happy with moderate success in my life, or I'm okay if I don't succeed? I mean, what kind of answer is that? I want to do very well in banking. What kind of answer is that? Everybody wants to do well in banking. Even if I get into an insurance company or a private sector job or something like that, I mean, I would want to do well. Everybody wants to do well. So it's a vague answer. Be very specific. Think about, I mean, if required, do some research on it. Do some research on the career path of a bank PO, how they progress. Sir, I'll be working, I see myself working in the middle management of this particular bank after 5 to 10 years. And that's my career plan. I think I'll be reaching this position in these many years, something like that. That organization should feature over there. Plus, it should be very, very specific. At least, if not very specific to some extent. Don't just say I want to be successful, and avoid doing that. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, I would like to see me in scale 3. Is it okay? Yes, Golu. It looks good. So you're saying MMGS 3, it's fine. 3, 4 maybe. I think the promotions would be time bound, so just do some research on it, then answer accordingly. Can I mention that my ambition is to be a GM in banking industry? Pranav, you can mention that. If you want to mention specific posts or positions, do some research on it. For example, look at the conventional or a routine career path of a bank PO. How many years would it take somebody to reach a bank position, to reach the position of a GM? So if you think it does not take less than, let's say, 15 years, do not mention it, I'll be a GM of this particular bank in 10 years. So don't mention anything stupid while answering this question. Be prepared, do your research, and then you can mention positions. If you can mention positions like that, then it'll be good for you. But if you do it without preparation, saying I'll be the CMO, or I'll be the GM, or I'll be the DGM, or something like that, it'll be bad. So prepare this first, and then you can mention it. No problem. I want to be a bank manager. Bank manager is fine. Think more than that. I mean, just bank manager would be something that will happen to you very early in your career. I mean, think of a higher position. 5 years may scale. Golu, do your research on this. Do your research on this. Alright, I'll move forward to the next question then. I discussed it last time as well. What would you do if not selected here? I think I advised you to mention something like working on your working and analyzing your current plan and what went wrong, and then coming back harder next time. I think coming back harder next time became the theme then for the answers, and that was my initial worry about this. If we give you model answers, that becomes the theme. It sounds good, that becomes my answer. So what would you do if not selected here? That's a good answer. I mean, I'll analyze my mistakes, would come back hard next time, would not worry, would do this, would do that. All this is fine, but try and add something to it. Probably I would not mind even if you say, sir, I want to get into the banking industry. If I'm not selected here, I would probably try and get into SBI next year or IBPS next year. Fine. I'm not averse to the idea of even applying to a private bank. Not a bad thing to say. You're saying I want to get into a bank, you're not giving me a chance. What do? I can get into a private bank as well. Fine. So I mean, your answer should not look very standard stereotype answer which everybody says. Analyze it, do this, do that, not worry, work on it, fix it up, come back next time. And even if I'm mentioning that, mention it. It's a thing that should mention. You should say, but add something more to it. Fine. Even if that means adding a private, bringing a private bank into the equation, no problems with that. So just handle it well. Just a small feedback on this particular answer. Anything else you want to say here? Sudesh, it's the same thing that I'm mentioning. I continue preparation by finding my weakness and improving. This is fine, but it looks very cliched because a lot of people who especially have gone through some preparation module do mention such things. So your answers need to be good, at the same time should have some kind of uniqueness to them. Fine. So add something more to it. Don't mention it like as if you have been taught to answer a question like this in this manner. So just be wary of that. Okay, I'll come strong again and analyze what went wrong, but I think I'll okay, Ramesh, that's what I was mentioning. Again, many of the answers are similar theme. I mean, just paraphrasing of that theme. So that's why I thought I'll caution you on this. Think of something more to it. Think of adding something more to it. Right? I'll come strong once again and analyze what went wrong, but I think I'll worry now. I'll be disappointed when give it, but I would not give it up just yet. I'll keep trying and also do this with analysis. Yes, Vishal, this is fine. Just keep in mind what I just mentioned. I'll move forward to the next one now, and this is again related to getting into a private bank, which I just mentioned. Why don't you try and get into a private bank? Why don't you try getting into a private bank? I mentioned last time, don't malign the private banks. Don't say any good things about private banks. Say good things about the organization that you want to get into. Say good things about nationalized banks. Fine. You can probably talk about the stability of a job or something like that. Fine. So if you have to answer a question like this, you can even say, sir, I'm not averse to the idea of getting into a private bank, but a PSB would always be my first preference. Not a bad answer at all. You are being honest. So if I want to get into banking, can I rely completely on, or can I bank completely on these public sector banks? No, I cannot. I would probably also think about an HDFC or an ICICI or a Kotak or an Axis. Fine. So think about it. Don't just say bad things about a private bank. They may be a part of your agenda. Fine. If they are in your agenda, nothing wrong with that. Just mention how you think a PSB is going to be better for you especially than a private bank. So you can mention job stability on all those things. Don't malign the private banks. This is what I want to mention here. Anything else? Please type in the chat window. This is my last attempt. What can I say to this question? What is the question? I did not get Ketan. Sir, this is my last attempt. What can I... okay, this question, I just mentioned that. Okay, job security, job satisfaction, and so the theme would be that you mention good things about banking industry and about banking industry in India, and then about public sector banks. Fine. So this becomes the theme, and then you can probably job satisfaction and job security and all. But this again can attract some questions. For example, why are you so concerned about job security or job stability? Are you not confident of your abilities? Again, a question can pop up like this. So just be prepared. So you're looking for job security because तुम्हें आराम की नौकरी करनी है. It can happen. So be prepared. Expect questions like this. Don't malign private banks. Talk good things about public sector banks. Do some research on public sector banks. how public sector banks are important, and all that stuff, right? So answer it accordingly. We'll move forward. Okay. Okay. Any other interview you appeared for selected for SBI? Again, do not conceal any facts. Mention the facts. I appeared. I could not qualify. I tried hard. I missed by a mark. I did this. I did that. Any other interview, you should mention that. No problems with that. If you are appearing for an SSC CGL, no problem with that. Absolutely not a problem. I mean, why would you want them to believe that this is the only thing for you? You should just appear keen, very keen. It's a good career option, not the only career option. I mean, this does not give you any extra marks. So just be honest. Another thing with lying or concealing information is that you get stuck at times. I mean, you might be caught somewhere during the course of your conversation. So try to avoid concealing information as far as possible. Okay, I appeared for SSB but got conference out. कोई बात नहीं है. You appear for so many exams. You don't qualify all the exams. Okay. I'm in the final year of MTech. Should I mention this in an interview? Ajit, no problems mentioning it. You can mention it. What's the problem? No problems with that. So there is no option to go to the private bank after 26. So what can we say to this? If you are above 26, there is no option for you to go into a private bank. Because of this reason, you don't mention that. Very simple. Why would you mention private banks they would not come into your picture in your scheme of things if you don't qualify this particular exam. Okay. I appeared for BOB PO, analyzed what went wrong. ठीक है. Appeared for LIC ADO. You can mention anything. You can mention insurance. You can mention some other bank. You can mention private banks. Whatever is there, you should mention it. I mean, just a word of caution here. You should not mention 10 things. Even if I'm taking 10, 15, 20 exams, I know a lot of people who have taken a lot of exams, 25 exams in a year, 50 exams in a year. So if you're one of those people, you can probably avoid mentioning all 25. You just mention 3, 4, 5 important ones that you think you are actually very keen of getting into. So that would be it. This is it. Is it good to mention a technical job which I've applied for? Sneha asks. This is a good question because the difference with applying for a technical job simultaneously along with a bank job is that these are two completely different career paths. So that's why probably she's asking a question like this. I still do not find a problem. So you're saying, sir, getting into this bank would be a wonderful thing, but I have to have some backup. So this is my stream of study and this aligns perfectly well with it. So if I do not make it here, I would probably go and join a software company. No problem. You can mention that. So I mean, it's always good to have a backup plan. So as long as you are not preparing to say bank is my backup plan here. So just be a little careful answering this. I'm coming to that. So this is what Rahul was asking. What if the panel asks you, do you want to ask us any question? Again, this is a difficult one. I mentioned this last time as well. If you think you have not thought of anything good or anything reasonable or anything worth striking a conversation with, then don't do it. You can probably say, no sir, this would be it. Thank you very much. You can leave. Get into this only if you can think of something good. It can be anything. It can be a bad. Okay, I'll give you an example here. A bad example in this case would be, sir, tell me, you are bankers. How is the life of a banker? I know people who have done this, something like this. So that's what I'm saying. Not a very good idea. They'll say, this cannot be done in 2 minutes, right? So be very specific. They're not your friends, they're not your guardians or your parents to you're saying कि sir बताओ मेरे को डिटेल में कैसा होता है. Just be very specific. So probably something like, sir, I'd love to get into a bank as a career, but I am slightly intrigued about the career path of a probationary officer. So how is it like? So this is something probably which they'll be able to answer in under a minute. So when you ask a question, one, it should be relevant, it should not be a frivolous question. Two, they should actually be in a position to answer a question like that. So don't ask them anything which puts them in an awkward position, or which they feel cannot be answered in half a minute or something like that, right? So you're not asking for proper detailed guidance on something. So think of something good. Again, I would not mention anything here because people start copying those standard answers in that. Don't do that. If you can think of something reasonable, check it with a few people, then only ask this question. If you think you don't have anything good to answer, you have already been into conversation for 15 minutes, you can avoid this question and say, no sir, you've been wonderful to me, we had a very enriching conversation, I do not have anything more to ask, thank you very much. You can say something like that. Okay, I'll just go through the comments quickly. I'm a BCom graduate and I get selected after a few years, I get sabbatical, want to do MBA, can I tell them this? Ronak, you can say that, I don't see a problem. Okay, will you leave RRB if clear IBPS PO? Somebody says, so you're already working in RRB and they're saying, would you leave in RRB? It's very obvious. If you're working in RRB and you are applying here, it means that you would leave the RRB irrespective of what you end up answering. So be honest, say, yes sir, I think this offers better career prospects, so I'd leave this particular bank and join this particular bank. You may have a tough time facing the question, answering the question, prepare it in advance. There is no use saying, no sir, I will not do that. Then why the hell are you here? I mean, what are you doing here then if you're not planning to join this particular bank? Okay. Why you come after MTech? Please answer, sir. Amrita, it's the same answer which I answered for engineers. Somebody says, sir, can I ask, is there anything in my profile that concerns you? They might not be willing to comment on that. You can answer, you can ask that. That shows concern inside and how keen you are about this job and of getting into it. But they might not be in a position to comment on this. That's my apprehension with a question like this. बैंक्स के मर्जिंग के बारे में पूछ सकते हैं विशाल आस. यस, बैंक्स के मर्जिंग के बारे में दे कैन डेफिनेटली आस्क. बैंकिंग के बारे में तो दे कैन आस्क एनीथिंग, सो रीड एज मच एज यू कैन. Why you want to join bank as a PO and not as a specialist officer? Nidhi, try and read about both jobs and how they are different. You are an engineer doesn't mean that you have to get into a technical job only. Fine. So not all engineers start coding. Not all computer engineers start coding. They get into analytics and all as well. So read about both the jobs and prepare an answer for yourself. Will you be willing for a posting in rural areas? Ketan, I think you should answer in affirmative to a question like this. In the beginning, you can be sent absolutely anywhere. Why banking for a law graduate? Bhavuk, as a law graduate, you can actually add a lot of things to the bank. So, I mean, you would probably be slightly more relevant than a science graduate. So, the way I answered for a science graduate, answer that for a law graduate. Law taught me these many things, and law is something which is everywhere. I mean, law is something for which you will find uses everywhere in all the spheres of life. So I'm sure you can prepare an answer for law. Law would not be a problem. That's what I'm trying to communicate. Okay. Can I ask them about their motivational lines? Don't ask them too many personal questions. I don't know what you mean by motivational lines. Don't ask them too many personal questions. Okay, then if you've got any other questions, please feel free to ask the questions. Otherwise, we'll wind up this session. Anything that comes to your mind, this is the time to ask. I'm here for another couple of minutes. So anything that comes to your mind, that's the time to ask the questions. I'm a biology student. No problem. No problems for I don't see a problem with any biology student. Okay. Ramesh, I already answered your question. You can say that you will leave the RRB if selected here. That's why you're here appearing for this interview. Okay. What about weakness questions, sir? Can I say okay, somebody says for the weakness question, sir, can I say I do not have any weakness as such, but I just kind of try to improve on stuff. Again, it's a very cliched answer. You try and get away with a difficult question by saying सर वैसे तो कोई ख़राबी नहीं है बट हाँ मैं काम करता रहता हूँ अपने ऊपर थोड़ा बहुत, जैसे आप उनके एहसान कर रहे हैं. इफ़ यू आर आस्क्ड अ क्वेश्चन लाइक दिस, कर दो यार मेंशन एक दो चीज़ें. आई मीन थिंक ऑफ अ कपल ऑफ थिंग्स. आई एम श्योर यू विल फाइंड अ कपल ऑफ वीकनेसेस इन योर पर्सनैलिटी. सबके अंदर होती हैं. सो नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम. डोंट ट्राई एंड रन अवे फ्रॉम इट. दैट साउंड्स वेरी फैब्रिकेटेड, वेरी क्लीशेड इफ़ यू से सर कोई वीकनेस नहीं है वैसे तो, बट आप बोल रहे हो तो चलो बात कर लेते हैं. Sir, should I wear a blazer without tie as it is winter? Yes, Golu, this would be fine. Can I say gardening as a hobby? Yes, you can say gardening as a hobby. I am a math student. What type of subjective questions can be prepared? Udita, it depends on your stream of study. So if you have studied maths, be prepared for getting into some detail in maths. So it would not be like an annual semester paper, annual exam, but you should be prepared with the topics broadly. Okay. Didn't join Infosys, prepared for civil services, failed it, gave SSC CGL tier 2. You can mention it. If asked about such things, you can mention it, don't hide it. If you do not want to mention it, then do not ask, good for you. But if they ask you something, then do not hide the facts. That's my opinion here. Okay, Ramesh, okay, we'll definitely think about doing more sessions. So Ashok says, how can I justify 1% mistake in application? Ashok, just say very simply, sir, it was an error, I did my mistake, and try and get away from that question as soon as possible. So you try justifying it, you spend a couple of minutes arguing with them, saying hona chahiye tha, nahi hona chahiye tha. They'll say you should be more careful now. Very simple thing to say would be, sir, I'm sorry for that, I did it by mistake. That's it. The message is that you move forward on it. Fine, ask me some other questions. Don't just get stuck on this particular thing, right? Who did guide you for interview? I took help from a friend who's a banker, from my dad, from my family and all. That coaching angle is not very good to mention, so don't mention it. You can talk about talking to your seniors in school or college or something like that. So that would form a good answer. Pragya says, can we meet you, sir? Pragya, how can you meet me? We don't have any physical infrastructure in place right now, but we are thinking about it. So if you want to do this, probably I don't know, stay tuned to our YouTube channel. Probably we'll have something very soon and you'll get to know about it. So for all of the people here, if you want to keep in touch with us, you can all subscribe to our YouTube channel. So we keep posting videos here, videos there, and that will be in touch with us. We may probably do a live class, a physical live class for some people if you are in NCR region. Fine, so we might do that. So all of you who are there, please subscribe to the channel. If there is a notification regarding that, we'll share that on our channel only. Fine. Another thing that you can do is that fill that form that's there. So we get to know about your information and all. If we launch something, probably a couple of days program about this particular event, this IBPS PO interview, then you also come to know about it. So if you're interested, you can do that. Amrita says, if they ask, have you gone for coaching for IBPS? Amrita, don't lie. Don't mention it on your own. But if they ask you and you have actually gone, you should say, yes, sir, I took some assistance. So not a problem. I'm saying do not mention it by yourself. So you can mention that. Deepak says, did you take classes from Merit Shine? Deepak, I did not get your question. What analytical skills of engineering student can be used for banking? Rama, engineering analytical skills are useful everywhere. For a banker, they are doubly important probably as compared to some other jobs. Read about it. Nidhi says, sir, I appeared last year's in SO interview, could not make it to the final list. IPN, not SO. Nidhi, be very straightforward on this. Answer this honestly. You appeared for SO last year. This year PO, probably appeared for PO last year as well. Could not make in for some reason like that. Otherwise, whatever your reason is, be straightforward. I don't think that's going to hamper your chances. Pranav says, please come with some basic banking question tips for interview. We'll think about it, Pranav. We might release a video or a short something on this, or a note or something. Stay tuned on our channel. We'll put something on that. Okay. Is blazer compulsory? Nothing is compulsory. Tie compulsory? Nothing is compulsory. Just wear decent, neat, clone, iron clothes, and this should be it. Okay, then, no recommendation as such when it comes to clothing. Don't look casual. Don't wear a t-shirt and a jeans. That's what. Risk management excellence, will they consider marketing experience? Karthik, you can mention any experience. You should just be able to talk about it. So you mention anything, even if you do not have an experience certificate or anything, you just should be able to talk about it. How it added value to you and how you enjoyed doing that. This should be the theme of talking about any work experience. Okay. Deepak says, sir, please tell me how should I justify my point of leaving ICICI Bank? You can talk about job stability and security and all the things that PSBs give you over private banks, Deepak. This should be the theme for an answer like this. I sound a bit muffled while presenting things. Even I know the concept. Should I? Dinesh, if you cannot articulate yourself well, practice it in advance. You know all these 15-20 questions. You know the basics of banking. You know the current affairs and everything. So you know what are the 100 questions that they can ask you in this interview, which is going to happen after 10-15 days. You've got enough time, ample time. Practice answering these questions. Get a friend or a family member or a teacher or somebody to cross question you. Practice answering these questions. You will get better gradually. It's not a one-day process. You will take time, but you will, even if you not very comfortable, you would get better. Your answers would be fine-tuned. So my advice is simulating the atmosphere and doing a few mock interviews. You will definitely get better, believe me. I broke my bond period in last IT sector job. Will it count as a negative? Ashi, not a great thing to do. Why did you do that? I mean, if there is a genuine reason, please mention that. What is if my academics is completely unrelated to banking? Shiva, I already answered this a few times. If it's completely unrelated, answer about what it added to you as a person. When you work for the bank, you would be giving your 100% to the bank. So that comes into play then. Fine. So if it cannot be connected directly, even a chemistry cannot be connected directly with banking, but it added a lot to you, and that's how you handle a question like this. Even they would understand this. All right, so I'll wind up the session then. Anything else? Any last question? You can, sir, for weakness, can I say I am sometimes an introvert person, can't express my feelings to someone? You can mention it. It's a weakness, being too introvert, being confined to yourself is definitely a weakness. But how are you trying to address this? Because as a banker, you will be required to talk to a lot of people. I mean, if you're into branch banking stuff, you'll have to get out of this habit. You should be good with people. You should have good social skills, good communication skills and all. So address this then. Brajesh says take basic bank questions before RRB interview. Brajesh will think about it. We'll plan a session. Stay tuned on the channel for that. Please take more sessions before 16. Vishal, if you have got any specific agenda for this session, Vishal, please write in the chat window once the recording of the session is available, so we can read it on YouTube. If there is a genuine scope for a session, doing a session, we'll be glad to do that. We can do another session, no problem. Shalini says, I joined the session now. If they ask at least, do you have any questions? Shalini, watch the recording of the session. This will be available on our YouTube channel. It's called Merit Shine. Just type Merit Shine in YouTube, you'll get it. Just watch the recording. Should be able to get the full recording. All right. So I'll wind up the session then. I wish you all the very best. Prepare hard. These are the last 10-15 days, a week or 10 days. Give it your everything. You should not have a regret once you are past this stage that you did not give your 100%. Prepare very hard. This might change your career, right? So I wish you guys all the very best. Cheers.